Look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go! Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line! Cause Stone Cold said so!
Wrestling Matters podcast fans, it is me, that HEAD, back with you for another installment of the podcast that matters, really. Yep, the Wrestling Matters podcast. How are we all doing? Hope you guys have had a great week. Hope you guys have enjoyed the wrestling this week. I have somewhat, to be honest. I haven't seen that much this week, to be honest, because I've had other things on my mind. But yeah, WWE's been good. TNA's been good. I'll give them credit. They've been good. And yeah, it's all good. And today's show, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk WWE, which is Raw and Smackdown, and NXT and 205. We'll throw them in there as well for good measure. We're going to talk TNA. Yep, TNA's back. We're going to talk Ring of Honor as well. Knock on wood. That is, if it's not one of them stupid, best of shows again. But if we can, we'll talk Ring of Honor as well. If not, we'll do that next week. And we're going to talk anything else that is relevant in the world of professional wrestling. And according to What Culture as well, 10 wrestlers or 10 superstars or whatever the fuck you want to call them that should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Because there's rumours that 2 have already been confirmed. 2 have already been confirmed. Dallas has already been confirmed. Dallas Page. And the other one's Ravish and Rick Rude, which I'll get to later. But I'll talk about that. That'll be the main event of this podcast. So, all in all, hope you guys are well. I have had a bit of a hectic week, which I'll get to in a second. I want to do these promotions first and get them out of the way. Don't forget, the adverts that I played last week will be played again this week as well, so I'm not going to do this too much. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters as well on YouTube, the Wrestling Matters channel, where Wrestling Matters. Also, you can listen to this on SoundCloud. Download it for free. That's right. SoundCloud as well. Download it for free. Just look up the Wrestling Matters podcast and you'll be there. No problem whatsoever. If you want links, they're in the descriptions below. So check them out. Also, you can listen to this on the Swerve Talk Network with Sunday Segway, Offshoot Radio, Max Wrestling, Evan McCabe is on there as well, and soon to be S&M Show podcast as well. So I'm going to be on 2 shows that are on the network as well, because apparently there's a few other stuff besides the S&M Show podcast itself. There'll be a few other things on there. No doubt Wrestling Unleashed will probably be on there as well. So yeah, I'm going to be on 2 things on the network, which is good. But congratulations to Mr. Larkin for that. And like I say, shout out to Daz and the crew. So, check it out each and every week. As you all know, guys, check it out each and every week. And for more information, go to @Swerve Talk Network on Twitter. Also, Wrestle Island, facebook.com/Wrestle Island, guys. I haven't got no information yet. I will look into it this week, and I'll get back to you on that. As also, facebook.com/Back to the Island for more information on who's coming to the Mystery Island. Shout out to you people there, Wrestle Island and Mystery Island as well. Check them both out. Shout out to all my partners, OSW TV, and a big shout out to Rick Dowler and the Talk Brunch crew. Little things have happened, guys. I was supposed to have a guest on this week, but a little bit of miscommunication has prevented that, I think. Unless the internet wasn't working or something. But I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I just want to let you know. Crystal, if you listen to this, or if you hear this, you're still coming on the show, okay? You're not the first person that this has caused or anything like that, okay? You're still coming on the show, and I still want you on the show. There's no hard feelings or anything like that from my way or hopefully your way. I still want you on the podcast, okay? I still want you on the podcast. It's probably the internet caused it, because I was on Skype And obviously, you added me on Skype, but you didn't come online. Unless there's a bit of miscommunication, because you said the time, I was there, you weren't there. So, like I say, no hard feelings, no. Not going to cause any heat or anything like that. Just let me know when you're ready, and you can come on the podcast. The offer's still there. Just to let you know on that one. So, like I said, miscommunication, but it happens, guys. It's not the first person. It's not the first time that's happened before. But I always live up to my word, ladies and gentlemen. If I want you on this podcast, God damn it, you're coming on the podcast. If I have to drag you on it as well. If you want to come, that's if you want to come on, of course. I don't force people to come on. If they don't want to come on the podcast, that's fine. Podcast is not always, it's not for that people, if that made sense. But anyway, like I said, just want to throw that out there right now. Right, I've got a lot of things to talk about, guys. I've had a bit of a hectic week in respects of signing up for something. I've signed to a boxing thing, TWCB. And I've talked to somebody about this on Facebook who I actually know from school. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago she'd be doing something like this, I'd have said you're out of your mind. But apparently I'm going to give it a bash. 8 weeks of free training, plus a fight, and you raise money for your charity, your chosen charity. That's going to be the difficult part. Because I've had a look at the list of the charities. There's a few on there that caught my eye. Cancer Research and Macmillan Cancer, as well as Make-A-Wish Foundation UK. Maybe I could be the new John Cena. But anyway, it's going to be difficult to choose which one out of them, because no disrespect to all the other charities on there. They're all worthy causes, no doubt about it, and that's appealing in itself, doing something for charity. I'm down for I'm all about that. I'm all about that, just as long as it's not the WWF. And I'm not talking World Wrestling Federation, I'm talking World Wildlife Fund. You can go fuck yourselves, pricks. But anyway, yeah, I'm down for it. I still believe, despite what a friend has told me, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, which is probably a thing. I mean, I did a Fit to Fight course on my local gym up the Southland Centre, which, holy shit, whipped my ass. But if I could do that, I could probably survive this as well. I mean, I'm a bit nervous about it, I'm not going to lie, but, you know, I'm looking for that motivation. I'm looking for that, you know, to stand up to something, you know. I want to be motivated. I want to be, you know, look, any chance I can get to improve my confidence. I'm not going to lie, guys, I am very low. I'm a very low person on confidence at times. You know, I'm not a confident guy. Let's just say, not 100% in terms of confidence. But if there's any way I can improve my confidence, the reason why I'm not that is because of what I've been through in my life with job centres and shit like that. But if I can improve my confidence, I'm all about that. You know, anything to improve my confidence. Anything to get me back to that person I once was. You know, I still am in a way, but not as much as I was before. If that made sense. That's a mouthful in itself. Anyway, but I still believe I'm in over my head. But I guess I'll find out once the thing starts. I've already ordered my 16-ounce gloves. Got them put to one side for me. I've got the wraps. I just need to go to my dentist to get a mouthpiece, mouth guard or gum shield or whatever the fuck they're called. As well, I don't want to go into a town, is it JD Sports or JJB Sports, whatever the hell it is, and spend money on a gum shield. I can get it for free at my dentist, for crying out loud. I got a gum shield before, but I want to get a fresh and better one. Something that works, really. I got a mouth gum shield before, but, you know, I want one that's comfortable. That's not going to make me puke, because every time I put something in my mouth like that, I'd probably end up puking. So, yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day, so it's who I am. All in all, I'm very much looking forward to it, don't get me wrong, but I am nervous about it, I'm not going to lie. So, but apparently they motivate each other there, they're like a family there from what I've been told, so I guess I'll find out, won't I? And like I say, it's the advantage I have for this is I have a friend who was there, and she's been helping me out as well, and, you know, helping me out in certain areas as well, so wish me luck, guys, because I'm going to get my butt kicked and all that, but it's all worth it, it's all for a worthy cause, and yeah, hopefully I can get something positive out of it, and get some confidence out of it too. We'll have to wait and see on that one, though. There's been a lot of news in the week, ladies and gentlemen, of WWE. There's rumours that Foley may be leaving the company, leaving Raw, that is, as GM, which is probably the best thing you'll ever do. The plans for Cena and Undertaker have been scrapped at WrestleMania. And the Raw GM seems to be up for grabs. The plans for Cena and Undertaker and have been scrapped because apparently Vince, I believe, wants the Undertaker to face somebody from Raw. Who, will it be Braun? It won't be Braun Strowman, despite the little tease, which I'll get to later on in the Raw and Smackdown review. I mean, it's just a simple way of life, But anyway, UK tournament starts this weekend. I will review that next week. I won't be. I don't know if I'll be watching them live, but I'll be watching them on the network. No question about that. I'll check them out on the network. So I will talk about them next week, all being well. And I wasn't hoping to talk about. I was hoping to talk about the WCPW show that they had exclusive on What Culture Extra this week. I wasn't gonna thingy it, check it out and anything like that, because apparently it's a scam. Look, this is just what I've been told. Okay, apparently there's word going around that WCPW's the What Culture Extra is a scam. Apparently, there's a video about it on YouTube that I see. I don't believe that until I see it, but I'm not going to take the risk if it's that way. It has to be 100% safe for me. I might be able to talk about the list and check the lists out. We'll have to wait and see. I'll see what happens at the end of the show. See what time I've got in the show. But there's plans for a big match for Mr. Samoa Joe as well, which I'll talk about. Let's have a look. I don't know what the plan is, but apparently there's a big WrestleMania match planned for him to face somebody on the main roster. It looks like he may very well be making his debut at the Royal Rumble to get into that spot and get into that slot. So, who would face Samoa Joe? I don't know. That's I guess we'd test it out at the Royal Rumble, won't we? I mean, there was a couple of matches. They did it with Styles in a way because they tested him out, who would be good for him, and then they put him with Chris Jericho. So, because they obviously like the way. Obviously, they must have seen it in the Royal Rumble and thought, boom, hello. Shaq starts training for the WrestleMania. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, apparently it is going to be Shaquille O'Neal one-on-one with the Big Show. Basketball player or basketball legend versus the Big Show. Merriweather and what I call it all over again, right? Merriweather and Big Show all over again. Except, Big Show will be fighting somebody his size. Right. During a Q&A session on Bruce Pritchard's Something to Wrestler podcast, he revealed why they got rid of the King of the Ring. Now, according to Pritchard, Vince didn't like the concept, and it was also the company's lowest sales for pay-per-view event of the year. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. The pay-per-view events during the summer didn't do all that well, and King of the Ring wasn't a large grossing pay-per-view. So Vince wasn't really excited about it, so they decided to change it up. Kind of gets me to think twice about him coming back now after that. I mean, there's no point of having something if it's not going to be the biggest thing. And where could have that went out of favour then? Where could have that went out of favour then if that was the case? Because the King of the Ring was a big deal. I mean, look what happened with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar wins. 2 months later, he's the undisputed champion. So King of the Ring, in a way, was a big deal. So that makes me think, why did it flop in that respect? Because if it wasn't the biggest pay-per-view, if it wasn't a great pay-per-view in terms of pay-per-view buys and pay-per-view numbers and that, where did it all go wrong then? Maybe too much too soon, too much on the pay-per-view? Or maybe they'd started, one point they started, when the year Kurt Angle won it, they started putting semi-finals on there. Maybe people wanted to see the whole tournament itself on there. have qualified matches on Raw and SmackDown or whatever show you've got, but maybe people wanted to see it that way. I don't know. This is just my assumption on it. But, yeah, I mean, I always liked the King of the Ring, to be honest. It had its moments. But it helped stars like Triple H, Stone Cold, Bret a bit. Not that he never needed any help to begin with, but it did lift him up a little bit more than he already was. I mean, yeah, that leaves to question, where did the King of the Ring go wrong? You know, it's one to figure out, man. It's one to figure out. I mean, you just have to think about, I mean, it had some great matches and great winners of the tournament. Like I said, Brock, you know, Bret, Owen won it one year. 95 was questionable because it was Mabel. And the furthest he got was a WWE title match against Diesel at a SummerSlam pay-per-view. Yeah, it just sees, I mean, it's one to think about, let's just say that. In addition to Diamond Dallas Page, like I said, I'll talk about this more later on as well. In addition to Diamond Dallas Page and Rick Rude going into the I was going to say into the Royal Rumble, which would have been amazing, but Rick's dead, unfortunately. Going into the WWE Hall of Fame, Dallas and Rick Rude could be joined by Mike Rotunda, IRS, Christian, which makes sense since Edge is already in the Hall of Fame. You know, get him in there as well. Are they in there as a tag team? I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're not, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway. Natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon, which, again, makes sense. And William Regal, which, good grief, consider what he's done for the company. All these retards on Facebook and people like that saying, oh, he doesn't deserve it, this. Fuck off. He fucking deserves it. William Regal deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay? Oh, yeah, he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because he's a fucking mid-card. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure there's a list of mid-carders that are already in the Hall of Fame. For crying out loud. I mean, you forget, Regal's not just a wrestler. I mean, considering the work he's done behind the scenes, you know, for NXT and that. Ignorant fucks. Anyway, moving swiftly on. But that's the rumours anyway. And there was also, still hasn't been a definite word on if Goldberg or The Undertaker will be headlining this year's class. So there's a possibility they both could go in as well to join, you know, Rick Rude and Dallas. You know, we'll have to wait and see. At the moment right now, to headline the show, the headline this year's event seems to be Dallas and Rick Rude. So, at the moment, that could change. But we'll have to wait and see. I do hope Goldberg goes in. I hope The Undertaker goes in. Just get him in, get out of the way. If he still wants to wrestle, let him do it, but just get him in, get him out of the way. Because if you don't do it now, you might regret it. Anyway, I mean, but it's going to be a class, and I'll do more about that Hall of Fame later on when I do that top 10 countdown. So, from War Culture as well, of other people who should be in the Hall of Fame. Other than that, guys, there hasn't been that much. It's just the same old usual mumbo jumbo and all that. Roman, you know, people seem to be disappointed. I mean, have you seen the apparently there's word going around that the Royal Rumble poster is a bit of a flop because it's headlined by it's got four guys who are practically now part-timers at the front. Cena, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, and Goldberg. But I didn't realise this until Tim said it. Tim Vicious said it on Facebook. They have to draw the pay-per-view. There's a big money. They have to, you know, really sell that pay-per-view. So, but what I don't understand is Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns are behind him, are behind them all, both, and I believe Charlotte is there. Charlotte's there, no problem. She's the champion. She's the women's champion. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Kevin Owens being there. He's the Universal Champion. But Roman Reigns, yeah, he's the man. You know, he's the big dog. I'm probably going to get slated for that. But in the background is AJ STyles. Right in the background, in amongst the background lineup, behind the front people. AJ Styles is there. And my issue with it is, ain't he the WWE champion? That's just basically bringing everybody forward and sticking your WWE champion right in the back and saying, nah, no one gives a fuck about you. It's ridiculous. But other than that, I'm very much looking forward to the Royal Rumble as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm pumped for it. Cena versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. It's going to be Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho. Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens for the Universal title. A now no longer US champion Roman Reigns. I'll get to that later on in part 2. Also, I believe the women's title's on the line as well. Charlotte versus Bayley, which is going to set up a big, huge match for WrestleMania. And yeah, the list goes on and on. So there'll probably be more matches to add on as well. So we have to see what happens. And also, you've got the big 30-man Royal Rumble as well. Or 30 Royal Rumble. There could be women involved. That it hasn't stopped them before. Beth Phoenix was once in it. Hell, China was in it, for crying out loud. So you never know in the Royal Rumble. Hopefully we'll get some shocks. Hopefully we'll get some surprises. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. That is the end of part 1 of this Wrestling Matters podcast. I'll be back in part 2 right after this time out with Raw, Smackdown, NXT, and 205. So stay tuned. If you enjoy the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast right now on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters. You can also check it out on SoundCloud at Wrestling_Matters_podcast. That's /Wrestling_Matters_podcast. Also, check it out on Radio Big World as well. For more information on them, you can check them out on SoundCloud and the Swerve Talk Network as well. For more each and every week of the Wrestling Matters podcast, weekly podcast that talk about the best in professional wrestling today, whether it's WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, and the list goes on and on. Only the best in professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and now it's time for the Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 reviews and mentions and whatever. So we'll kick off with Raw. It kicked off with Strowman attacking the US champion Roman Reigns while he was getting a beat down from Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Seth Rollins came out to save Roman Reigns. Then Stephanie comes out and makes a match between Rollins and Strowman, which ended in a double counter. Jack Gallagher defeats Drew Gulak. Big Cass defeats Jinder Mahal with a little help from Shawn Michaels, super kicking Rusev on the outside, which was great. Neville and Lindsay Dorado. Neville beats Lindsay Dorado. Raw Tag Team Champion Sheamus defeats Luke Gallows with a little bit of help from Cesaro, distracting Luke Gallows while he was beating up Carl Anderson. Undertaker returns and crashed Raw GM's Raw General Manager Mick Foley's job evaluation. Mick, just leave. Forget everything else, just walk away. I can't imagine anybody wanting to replace you as GM working with that bitch, I'll tell you. And that's what you are become, Stephanie, a bitch. Raw's Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax defeat Sasha and Bayley after Sasha and Bayley demanded to face them that night. Kofi Kingston and Titus O'Neil. Kofi Kingston wins that. I just seems to can't get a break, and he doesn't deserve it. Jericho defeats Roman Reigns to make Chris Jericho the new United States champion. So the rumors were correct in that respect. So that only tells me that Roman Reigns will probably be Universal Champion at the Royal Rumble. I don't know. But the Undertaker crashing the Raw evaluation, he's in the Royal Rumble. Like I predicted last week, I said to him, he can't be there just to talk about what happened in New Orleans at WrestleMania when he lost to Brock Lesnar. He's going to be participating in the Rumble, and I called it. Called it last week on the podcast. So, yeah, that only things me is he's going to be winning the Rumble. That's the only thing. You know, this is basically Undertaker's retirement tour, from what I'm seeing anyway. Who will he face at WrestleMania? I don't know. It looks like it's going to be a Raw person, from what I'm gathering. That's why they put the Undertaker on Raw, because it's going to be a Raw guy he's going to be facing, because they've cancelled the plans of John Cena and Undertaker at WrestleMania, because I think they're more favour of AJ Styles and John Cena at WrestleMania, or AJ Styles and John Cena somewhere involved at WrestleMania. I don't know what direction they're going to go with in that respect. But yeah, I mean, it seems it's heading down that route. So I would probably guess it's going to be Roman Reigns and Undertaker at WrestleMania from what it looks like. That's just my opinion. But it seems pretty much it's going to end up that way. Because I'm probably seeing Roman Reigns winning the US Universal title rather, and it's going to be The Undertaker versus him at WrestleMania. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, that is the Raw review. Raw was alright. I had no issues with it. Good seeing The Undertaker back. Smackdown, however, kicked off with the Ambrose Asylum, the new Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose, with special guest Miz and Maurice. Miz wanted his belt back and all that, and then Miz attacked him, holds him for Maurice. Maurice goes to slap him. Ambrose ducks out the way. She slaps Miz. Miz gets hit with the dirty deeds, and then Ambrose presents him with the participation award, his own version, and then walks away. Nikki Bella versus Natalya ended in a no contest. Kalisto defeats Dolph Ziggler, but Dolph lost the plot and beat up not only Kalisto, but Apollo Crews as well. American Alpha defeat Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton of the Wyatt family, and there's dissension within the Wyatt family, and there was arguments and all, and then I think Luke Harper wanted to super kick Randy Orton, but Orton got out the way and he ended up super kicking Bray instead. So where that's going, I don't know. It's more likely going to be Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. You could see that happening. Daniel Bryan announced the first SmackDown Women's Championship Steel Cage. It's going to be Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss in a cage this coming week on SmackDown. Carmella wins her job match, and John Cena defeats Baron Corbin as well. But yeah, it's going to be the match to end it all, I would imagine. It's going to be Becky Lynch one-on-one with Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss with the women's title on the line. Will Becky regain the title? We'll have to wait and see, but that will probably be the main event of this week's episode of SmackDown. But going back to what I was saying about Randy Orton, it seems that the seeds have been planted for a split now. What was meant to happen in the first place, from what I've gathered, and it seems that it's going to be Bray Wyatt one-on-one with Randy Orton at WrestleMania. No doubt Luke Harper will probably play some part in that, but it seems that way as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens this coming week. I would imagine Dolph will probably go one-on-one with Apollo Crews. I can't imagine them two fighting the Rumble unless it's on the pre-show, but it seems that way also. Going back to what I was saying about Raw as well, just to bring Raw up quickly. The way when Sasha Banks and Bayley wanted a match with Charlotte and Nia Jax, the way Stephanie was at Sasha Banks, do you think there's going to be a program between them two at some point? I think so. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, Stephanie has wrestled Brie before. I hope that's the case, and then maybe Sasha can show Stephanie who's boss, quite frankly. She needs it. Anyway, moving on from that, both good shows this week. I think SmackDown was better, in my opinion. But we'll move on to NXT, run through NXT's results, which is Billie Kay and Peyton Royce defeats Macy Evans and Sarah Bridges. Elila Sampson defeats Jonathan Cruz. Andre Almes defeats Juane Losan. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I apologise. And NXT Tag Team Champions DIY defeat the Revival as well. So DIY still top of the NXT kingdom, if you will, as tag team champions, of course. There we go. 205. Let's do 205 as well. We've done all that. Let's do 205. Let's go. We have Noam Dar defeats Cedric Alexandra. The Brian Kendrick defeats Sean Maluta. Wow, it's not easy to say, man. Jack Gallagher and Daivari feud continue, and Rich Swann defeated Tony Nese as well. And from what it seems, as I'm getting this right now, just double checking, WWE Cruiserweight Champion Rich Swann. A match has just been added to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Neville will go one-on-one with Rich Swann for the Cruiserweight Championship. And I'm going to double check that right now. Just bear with me. Just double checking it now. Where's the matches? I'm seeing a lot of stuff that just popped up there. Popped up here. So the quick hits are the Royal Rumble match, Universal Championship match, and yeah, it's Rich Swann versus Neville at the Royal Rumble. And I'm guessing Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, and The Miz will be in the Royal Rumble match as well. Yeah. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. So, those will probably be the matches. 4 matches in total, probably 1 on the pre-show. Will we see not Dean Ambrose, will we see Dolph Ziggler one-on-one with Apollo Crews on the pre-show to warm up? Probably, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but look out for a prediction show, a predictions podcast, and a review podcast on the Royal Rumble very, very soon. Whether it'll be on this show or whether it be separate, I don't know. We will see. But the Royal Rumble's not that far away, guys. I can't wait. So, with that being said, guys, that wraps up part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And in part 3, I'll be back with TNA and Ring of Honor. So, stay tuned.
There's only one wrestling podcast that gives you honest, uncut opinions and the most unique trivia since WWE did The Weakest Link. And the only place you can hear the show-stealing podcast promo every single week.
Covering WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground. Matt's Wrestling Podcast is the place for you. Join myself, Evan Money Michaela, The Phoenix, and The Butcher. Sundays at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern time with your host, Danny Dangerously, on VOC Nation and the Swerve Talk Network.
Go to maxwrestling.wix.com/maxwrestling or follow us at maxwrestlinguk for more details.
Give in to the madness.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 3 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you enjoyed the podcast so far, and in this part we're going to talk TNA and Ring of Honor. Let's start with Ring of Honor. First of all, it is back on. No more best of crap, and it's back on, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. Now, episode 2 of the tapings after Final Battle. So, Jay Briscoe and BJ Whitmer go one-on-one, which saw Jay Briscoe beat him and advance in this excellence tournament that Ring of Honor currently got going on. Silas Young and Beer City Bruiser defeat Da Silva and Alex Reynolds, which saw Bull James, former NXT star Bull James, I believe was Bull Dempsey in Ring of Honor, come out, and it seems Silas Young and Beer City Bruiser have their eyes on the 6-man tag team titles. So they thought they were going to bring, but they turned on Bull James and left him laying, which made no sense. But anyway, the current 6-man tag team champions, the Kingdom, defeat Joey Dad Diego, that is his name, ladies and gentlemen, no kidding, and Will Ferrara and Cheeseburger to retain. Also, the Young Bucks come out during the show as well to basically come down and, to answer the challenge of Matt Hardy, because after Final Battle, after their match, their epic match, and after literally super kicking the Jesus right out of the Briscoes, the Young Bucks got confronted by broken Matt Hardy, and as they were doing this segment, some drone started flying in. The lights went out and this drone started flying in. And I believe it was probably Matt Hardy playing more mind games, but the Young Bucks weren't affected because they actually super kicked it, which I thought was hilarious. And Chris Sabin also advanced in this Decade of Excellence tournament by beating Colt Cabana. And I believe he will face Chris Daniels, who won his first round match by beating Mark Briscoe as well. So yeah, it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. And, yeah, it is what it is, ladies and gents. It is what it is. So, that is Ring of Honor as well. And I'm looking forward to next week's episode, because next week's episode will have Jay Lethal and Jushin Liger, and also have a And I think it's going to be Steve Corino's farewell as well. So I'll have to see what happens next week. But we all know Jay Lethal one-on-one with Jushin Liger. So that's going to be great. Anyway, ladies and gents, if I can find it, I've done with Ring of Honor. So let's do TNA. TNA, January 12th results. If this thing would hurry up, please. I'd be grateful. I'd be very grateful if you cooperate. Thank you. Lashley defeated EC3 in the last man standing match for the number one contendership to the TNA World Championship. Decay, Abyss, and Crazy Steve with Rosemary defeat the Death Crew Council, which is the DCC. Wow. Baram and Kingston with James Storm ended in a... but the match ended in a double counter. So Decay and DCC's match ended in a double counter. Braxton Sutter defeated Mike Bennett, and the broken Matt Hardy, Brother Nero, and Brother Nero and Matt Hardy defeated the Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, to retain the World Tag Team titles. So that pretty much wraps up TNA, guys, on that one, and Ring of Honor as well. Hopefully, like I say, Ring of Honor will improve. It always will be improving as well, but hopefully TNA will as well, because I want TNA to have a break this year. Cut all the bullshit, cut all the, the gaga behind the scenes and everything. I want TNA to do well this year. I found out also this week that Gobshite's back with the company. Gobshite being Don West as well. So maybe they're going back to that old direction, that old new regime, that old ways, because Don West is back. Dixie's gone. Jeff Jarrett's in the company. Dutch Mantel, Seb Coulter, whatever the hell you want to call him, is in the company as well. So yeah, hopefully this is hopefully this will be TNA's year after all the bullshit. Let's hopefully this year will be the right path for TNA, because I do want to see them do well. But if they screw it up this year, they're done. It's as simple as that. Anyway, that is about the end of this part, guys. I'll be back in part 4 with more on the Wrestling Matters podcast. And stay tuned. If you enjoy the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast right now on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters. You can also check it out on SoundCloud at Wrestling_Matters_podcast. That's /Wrestling_Matters_podcast. Also, check it out on Radio Big World as well. For more information on them, you can check them out on SoundCloud and the Swerve Talk Network as well. For more each and every week of the Wrestling Matters podcast, weekly podcast that talk about the best in professional wrestling today, whether it's WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, and the list goes on and on. Only the best in professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to part 4 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys are well. And now it's time for the main event. I'm just going to do it right now, the main event. In the next part, I'll do the usual outro and everything, but I've got some news on TNA as well. So that will become some few TNA spoilers for the first time ever on this podcast. So just be careful for that one as well. But right now, it is now time for the main event, which is the 10 wrestlers who must be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, number 10 is the Warrior Award. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about this as well. We've had, why not have people who deserve it more? I mean, don't get me wrong, Connor, who deserve that more than anybody. There's all these other people as well. Why not get the crew in there? Why don't we make it about people who bust their chops, like say the ring crew, for example? Let's get that one in there as well. Number 9 is, let's double check, Totes Mundit. Now, Totes spelled Toots. Apparently, I've never heard of this guy until they mentioned it on this chart. I never heard of him. Didn't know who he was, but apparently he was a promoter, a wrestling promoter who helped a lot with, with the promotions back in the day, even wrestled on occasions back in the day as well. He was a wrestler. I think he played a part in being Vince McMahon Sr.'s right-hand man, and working with people like, Bill Watts and Stu Hart and everything, and I think was also the cause of helping Vince to break away from the NWA as well. So yeah, I've got no problems with that. Number 8 is Andy Kaufman. Why not? The only thing, people, all the celebrities come in, they always disrespect the business, they don't get the business, they think it's a load of crap and everything. This one guy didn't. He appreciated the sport of professional wrestling. He was a comedian, he was a celebrity, but he got what people wanted, and that's why him and Jerry Lawler feud worked to a T. Because, hey, Jerry's not doing anything. Why not put him in there? You know, why not have him put him in there? So number 7 is Tenryu. Now this guy was in WWE from what I got in the early 90s. And still wrestles. I think he wrestled his last match against Okada at one point as well. Yeah, just an outright legend. I mean, I'm surprised this guy's not in the Hall of Fame, to be honest. I mean, they always have one Japanese wrestler to put in the Hall of Fame. I'm surprised they haven't put this guy in, to be honest. I thought this guy would have been in a long time ago. And since Ric Flair seems to be the guy for doing, or for putting Japanese wrestlers in, why not put him? Why not have Ric Flair induct him? You know what I mean? It wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, number 6, China. How can you not put China in? Yes, she's a porn star. Yes, she was a porn star. Yes, she's this, and this. Who gives a flying fuck about that? You know, she was a full-class member of DX, and probably the only reason she's not in there now is because of her her ongoing saga with Triple H and Stephanie, because, you know, Triple H's affair with her, Stephanie, and this, and this. You know, there's a lot of history there and everything. So, but yeah, you can't do a Chris Benoit and not recognise the contributions that she's made to the business. Next is Demolition. Why not? You know, I mean, these guys were built back in the day because they were Road Warriors. You know, WWE apparently couldn't get the Road Warriors, and so they had to make their own version, which was Demolition. And then at one point they even brought Crush in to be a part of that Demolition. And they became the longest reigning tag team champions until New Day beat them. So there you go. Have the New Day put them in. Although I'd like to see what would happen like. We'll be all good and all that, but anyway, it is what it is. Next is Kevin Sullivan. Apparently he's doing some work in TNA, so I don't think this would be working anytime soon. But his contributions to WCW, especially as a booker as well. Yes, he wasn't the best booker in the world, but he's worked behind the scenes. He's working WCW behind the scenes. His matches, former tag team champion with Cactus Jack at one point. But like I say, apparently he's working now behind the scenes at Impact Wrestling, so I can't see this happening anytime soon. But if it was, have Mike Rotunda put him in the IRS. Why not? Next is a guy who should be in there, quite frankly, and it is not Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. I don't know why he's not in there, to be honest. I don't know why he hasn't been put in there. He's going in, and he will go into the Hall of Fame. It's just a case of when. It's just a case of when. When will it happen? How will it happen? And with the UK tournament going on, and the UK scene, the UK indie scene, hot than it's ever been before, perfect year to put him in my opinion. Next is Vader. I don't know about this one because I honestly don't know. Did he? I mean, his best work was in WCW. WWE, he was a monster and everything, and then he turned into like a baby face. He should have been still a heel, to be honest. I question this one, but it's hard not to put him in because he was the Rocket Monster, and considering apparently he's only got 2 years left to live, you'd be best off putting him in now, otherwise, so he can come in and accept it, get him in, get him out the way. But like I say, his best work was in WCW. There's no question about that. In WWE, it didn't work out for him, but his best work was in WCW, in my opinion. And number 1 is The Rock. Yeah, The Rock. Why not put him in? Maybe they don't want to put him in case he's still an active wrestler on the roster and everything like that. Maybe they're holding out for The Undertaker as well, active wrestler on the roster. The reason why they put Ric Flair in the Hall of Fame, even though he was still a member of the roster, the reason why they put him in the Hall of Fame was because, WrestleMania the next night was his last match in WWE, so that's why they ended up putting him in. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? We'll have to wait and see. What happens and take it from there. But we all know Diamond Dallas Page is in the Hall of Fame. Rick Rude's in the Hall of Fame. Talk about somebody who deserves it. Jesus Christ. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of rumours that's going around who's going to be in there next. There's talk of William Regal. There's talk of Christian, IRS himself, Mike Rotunda, and the Natural Disasters as well. There's still talk about Goldberg maybe. Hell, there's a possibility for even The Undertaker as well. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. All we know is DDP and Rick Rude are heading into the Hall of Fame. And there's anybody who deserves it, it's Rick Rude as well. Not saying that DDP doesn't do it, but Rick Rude is long overdue. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to have a quick time out here, and then I'll be back in the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast with an outro, the usual stuff, and some TNA spoilers, some interesting developments in future TNA shows as well, in the upcoming TNA tapings and whatnot. So I will reveal all of that right after this, so stay tuned. Are you sick of professional wrestling? Do you want to speak your mind about professional wrestling? Well, if you like a wrestling podcast, why not tune in to the wrestling podcast where wrestling matters, the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Each and every week, I talk about the best in professional wrestling from WWE, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and the list goes on and on. Also, on the other occasions, I bring guests in as well to shoot the breeze about the one thing that I love, that we all love, professional wrestling. So join me each and every week for the Wrestling Matters Podcast on YouTube, AJW Wrestling Matters, the Wrestling Matters YouTube channel, SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, and any other podcasts that matters. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Right, welcome back to the final part of the Wrestling Matters Podcast, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Coming up with some TNA news, some TNA gossip for you, TV taping news and that, so there will be some spoilers in that, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And this has been episode 146 of the podcast. You can listen to this on the Swerve Talk Network each and every week. Max Wrestling, Sunday Segway, Offshoot Radio, soon to be S&M Show podcast as well. You know the score. Go and check them out each and every week. Also, it's on YouTube, on the Wrestling Matters channel as well. AJW Wrestling Matters on YouTube. Go and check that out as well. And subscribe if you're new around that channel as well. Also on SoundCloud as well. Download it for free. Look it up. Wrestling Matters Podcast, baby. Shout out to Wrestle Island as well. I will look to get more information this week on Wrestle Island as well. So I'll have that for you next week. And Facebook.com/Wrestle Island, Facebook.com/Back to the Island as well. Be sure to check all of that out. Also, as well, shout out to the partners as well. Shout out to Rick Dowder, Talk Brunch, at Talk Brunch on Twitter. Be sure to check them out each and every week. Mondays, right after Raw, plus other things as well. But like I said, to keep up with Talk Brunch, at Talk Brunch on Twitter. Also, as well, a couple of guests coming up as well. Starting next week on the Sunday, I believe it is, on a Sunday night, I will be recording an interview with Nikki Adams for this podcast as well. So that is coming up in the upcoming episodes of the podcast coming down. So be sure to check that out as well, and look out for that in the coming weeks. Now, to end this podcast, we're going to end with some TV taping news from TNA. There has been some spoilers, so yeah, let's check it out. Apparently, Brooke is back with the company. Brooke Tessmacher, whatever her name is. Just call her Brooke, and she's back with the company. She's made a return, and it seems the TNA is being faded out. It's now becoming Impact Wrestling, because it seems on the Twitter pages and the Facebook pages of TNA, which is now Impact Wrestling, it seems they're fading the logo out. So there's no more TNA. It's now Impact Wrestling. That's going to be taking some things to get used to, let me tell you. But it seems that Anthem, the new owners of Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever, are fading that TNA, them three letters, out now, and now calling it Impact Wrestling. Yes, Aaron Rex made his return with a gimmick as well, with Rockstar Spud as his new manager. Oh, Aaron Rex, what have you done? I don't like that gimmick, in my opinion. Might grow on me, I don't know, but nah. Aaron, you're better than that, fam. Be a wrestler. But apparently it's the gimmick that he wanted to use in WWE, but they turned him down. So, I don't know. It is what it is. Apparently, Anthem aired the wrong episode this past week on their network. That's what I've heard. So, I don't know. It's a start. It's the early on, but anyway. Right. Spoilers alert. Yes. Bobby Lashley regains the TNA World Championship from, I believe, was Eddie Edwards as well. So, yeah. Angelina Love makes her return, and I think from what I got from this as well, Davey Richards, Aaron Davey Richards turned on Eddie Edwards, so I think the Wolves are splitting up. I might be wrong on that, but that's what I got from this. This little video that I've been watching on Wrestle Talk TV. You know, the little taping news as well, so I might be wrong on that. Josh Barnett, who was GR's right-hand man in calling the New Japan Pro Wrestling, is making his debut in TNA. And he's made his debut in TNA, and apparently he is the next person to feud with Bobby Lashley, which is terrific. And also Cody Rhodes returns to the company as well. And apparently he returns to the company and turns on Moose. And then shuts up the symbol sign for the Bullet Club and everything, and gives them some exposure as well. I don't know. But that's what happens anyway. Just check a few things here. It seems that there's going to be more teasing as well with the Hardy Boys and this Young Bucks rivalry that's taking place as well. They tease a little something on the upcoming episodes as well. Samuel Shaw returns to the company. That's right, that psychopath who was stalking Christy Hemme and everything. Well, he's back. Don West returned as well. And there is a new Grand Champion in TNA as well. There's going to be a soon-to-be Grand Champion as well. And like I say, guys, these are spoilers. Drew Galloway is the man to dethrone Moose. So that's something to look forward to as well. Plus... And that about wraps it up. Plus the Cody thing as well. And that about wraps it up with TNA, guys. In that respect. So, yeah, it's interesting developments taking place in TNA. And, like I said, look forward to seeing how, they pan out. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be very interesting indeed. We'll have to wait and see what happens, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens. But like I say, hopefully TNA can, go down that right direction. I hope so, for their sake at least, because if they don't, they're ultimately screwed. But they've got rid of the cancer that was running TNA, and that's Dixie Carter. So hopefully Anthem can take them into a new direction and hopefully take them down that right path. I hope so, for their sake at least. But anyway, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll be back next week with more of the Wrestling Matters podcast as well. Look out for a few things during the week, because Loaded is back this week as well. If I don't do... I'll probably air the audio. If I do an audio this week, I'll probably air it next week on the podcast. Hopefully ICW will be back this week as well, because they were back yesterday. It was ICW Sunday yesterday. They'll do some Friday Night Fight Club tapings as well, so hopefully they'll be back as well. And if I've missed anything, I will review it next week on the podcast. And so stay tuned for any WCPW extra podcasts this coming week. Big thank you to the Kirby Mania review as well, on YouTube as well. That got over 400. As I've seen this right now, it's close to 500 views. So thank you for that as well. It's greatly appreciated. And I will be doing more of that upcoming as well. It seems that you guys liked it as well. And I'll be doing a lot more of that. Like I say, I'll review the Loaded episode as well. So Loaded is back on the What Culture Wrestling YouTube channel. 8 o'clock UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern, tonight, in fact. And it'll be repeated on Wednesdays, same time, and on Saturdays, same time. So, check that out as well. Be sure to check that out. And, like I said, guys, this has been episode 146 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Thank you so much for listening and taking the time to listen as well. Give me feedback, anything you want me to do or deal with or anything like that, anything to improve in that, I'll be greatly appreciated. Like if you listen to this on YouTube, download it for free on SoundCloud as well. And until next time, guys, always remember that wrestling matters. Peace out.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Professional wrestling, this is it. This is us standing up. Yes, 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 yes! That's 13-14! Cena, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.